Okay, we're gonna call the August meeting of the White Lake Library Board of Trustees to order at 6:46 and start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Roll call for you, Candace.
President Jennifer Schultz. Here. Vice President Richard McGlue.
Here.
Secretary Karen Wines here. Treasurer Gwendolyn Newton
Here.
and Trustee Eric Shotwell
Here.
and Gary Francis.
Here.
And Director April Stevenson and Assistant Director Amy Rosen are in attendance.
Okay. Can I get someone to approve tonight's agenda?
So move.
Second.
Each one came in first.
I think one was just
Okay,
a
great.
microsecond.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So 4 yes votes.
And then isn't there five?
Oh yeah, 5. sorry. Public comments.
None.
And then, are you Greg?
Yes,
Okay, Greg's going to present the 2023 audit results. You can do that now.
Well, to the podium.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have the audit report, it's a blue bound report, and this is for the year December 31st, 2023. And I'll kind of go through this. Feel free, as I'm going through it, if you have questions, feel free to bring up any questions that you might have.
If we have questions at the end, we can ask them too.
Oh, yes. So the first item that you would be interested in would be starting on page 1. It's the independent auditor's report. So this is basically the report based on the audit work that we did. And it's rather lengthy, but basically what it says is that management is responsible for presentation of the financial statements, and our responsibility is to do our audit procedures on the financial information, and then to provide an opinion on the financial statements, which our opinion is unmodified, which means we found no exceptions with anything that was prepared. Everything is prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So that's basically what you're looking for, is an unmodified opinion that everything is looking good. So the financial statements are kind of divided into different areas. The first area is known as the management's discussion and analysis. And what this is kind of management's take on the financial position of the library. Kind of gives an overview of the financial position of the library. So that is goes on for a number of pages. The next part, and I won't get into that, but it's basically, like I say, kind of an overview of the financial and kind of a condensed version of what the financial statements say. So starting on page 9, this is the statement of net position of the library. And I think over the years, I've kind of explained the new process, which isn't new anymore, but it's shown in basically 3 different columns. The first column is the modified accrual basis. So this is kind of what you're used to seeing, showing the assets of the library. but not the full assets and liabilities of the library. The last column is the statement of net position, which is, so what the standards board wanted to do is kind of put governmental units on kind of the same type of a basis as what you would see for profit organizations. Because a number of years ago, they didn't really show the assets of the organization. So the statement of net position is a full accrual position where it shows all of the assets of the library, which includes, you know, the building and the collections within the building and all of the furniture and equipment. And it also reflects the full liabilities of the library. So just kind of making a comparison of some of the numbers, kind of looking at the statement of net position, that third column, which being the full accrual position of the library, and kind of making a comparison of these numbers at December 31st, 2023 to the same numbers at December 31st, 2022. So the cash and cash equivalents at the end of December 23 compared to 2022 are actually down about $167,000 compared to the prior year. But the other side of that is the cash investment, or the investments are actually up $232,000. So that's kind of reflects kind of where things are at, given, and remember, this is as of December 31st, so where things were at as far as what the, you know, the idea was as far as the investments. So more money was in the investments at that point in time. But still, between the cash and cash investments, you are actually up $65,000 compared to the prior year. Property taxes receivable were actually down $14,000 compared to the prior year. And this is really just kind of depends on the way the township collects the taxes and what they've remitted to the library by December 31st. So it's overall, and we'll see this when we look at the revenues and expenses, overall the property taxes are up. So this isn't really anything concerning. It's like I say, it's kind of dependent on the way the township collects the property taxes and remits to the library before the end of the year. Capital assets, which is the full, like I said, includes the building and the collections and all of the furniture and fixtures, were actually down $372,000 compared to the prior year. And this is really just due to the additions to assets, and we'll look at this again when we get into the notes, but the additions to the assets were $237,000 during the year, but the depreciation that's taken on these assets was actually $609,000. So you've had more depreciation, which is a reduction of the net value of the assets than what you had added in addition. So that's kind of where the overall capital assets were down $372,000. So again, nothing really to be concerned about. It's just kind of a function of additions to assets and depreciation taken on those assets. There is a new line item that you'll see, and we'll talk about this a little bit as we go through the financial statements. It's called the right to use assets. We were talking about this kind of over the past few years. This is a new accounting standard that has been put into place for actually all entities, whether they're for-profit or not-for-profits. And what these are your leases, your what used to be, well, they are operating leases on like copy machines, anything that you're leasing. So what the standard board said was, instead of just showing these as an expense each year, what they wanted to be done was to show this as an asset on your books, and then the lease payments are shown as a liability. So overall, it's kind of the two offset between the asset and the liability, but they just wanted to show this as an asset and then the corresponding liability. So,
Even though it's technically not an asset.
right. So in their mind, it's an asset, it's a right, what they call a right to
right.
use. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. Like I said, this has been kind of coming for a number of years and they've actually kept putting it off for a few years. And finally they said, okay, we've done this, we put it off long enough, we're gonna put this in place, so. The asset and the liability pretty much offset, so the bottom line in the financial statements isn't huge, but.
So,
Yeah.
so the usage fee, so you have like a copier, a print per page, that would be an expense, not a lease payment.
Right,
So is that, so that.
yeah, that's kind of the gist of it, so, yeah, I mean,
So the
it's,
basic, we're renting this machine or leasing this machine is.
yeah. So I mean, the expense side of it is pretty much still the same, except that they wanted the right to use the asset. Or right to use it shown as an asset, and then. What you're gonna pay for the right to use on that asset is calling a liability, so.
Okay.
I think they were really looking more at organizations that do a lot of high-end leases. But unfortunately, it kind of takes into account a lot of organizations that, needs to be done. So,
Water cooler, whatever.
yeah.
Mhm.
Then on the liability side of the equation, the accounts payable are up 19,000, accrued expenses were up 11,000. Again, really just kind of a timing thing. There was more unpaid bills probably at the end of the year compared to the prior year, but again,
Mhm.
nothing really to be concerned about, just the way the timing is on those. The other item that shows up that you didn't have in the last year was, and it goes back to this lease issue, was the long-term liabilities for the lease of 36,124.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the, well, we'll talk about the fund balance when we get to the next page, but you can see the fund balance, which is in the first column, this is under the modified accrual basis. So this is kind of what the library has to work with, obviously, in the third column, you've got the building, but, you're not gonna be able to use that. So basically, the fund balance is really kind of what you're more interested in. From the standpoint of what can the library use, non-spendable, and there's a note disclosure on this, but non-spendable are prepaid expenses. So those are items that you can't spend a prepaid expense, it's just sitting there waiting to be used
Mhm.
in the upcoming year. And then unassigned is what you set aside for various purposes of 133,000, and like I say, there's a note disclosure on that. And then unassigned is really kind of what you have available to spend over the years.
Over the years.
Yeah, it's what's accumulated.
Right.
Yeah, and that's 757, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the next page, which is the statement of revenues and expenditures. And this follows the same type of format as far as the first column is the modified accrual method. And then the third column is taking it to a full accrual method. Since the modified accrual basis is really, I think, what you're probably really should be more interested in, again, because that's what the spendable numbers are. So I did a kind of some comparisons again, as far as where you were at the end of December 31st, 2023 compared to 2022. And remember, so the page that the prior page that we looked at is the statement of net position is a snapshot as of December 31st, 2023. this page that we're looking at now is actually, this is the activity for the full year. So the property taxes of almost $1.5 million compared to the prior year are up $189,000. So, you know, a good increase in the property taxes. And I'm sure you can remember back in, you know, going back to 2008, when we saw that large decline in the property tax values. And of course, with the Headley overrides, and, you know, there was quite a reduction in the taxable value. And it's taken quite a few years to kind of get back to where things were, but, you know, so you're seeing some pretty good increases in the property taxes. The other area where you saw a significant increase was in the area of interest income. That's up 42,000 compared to the prior year. And that's due to the increased rates that we've seen. You know, it's pretty significant increased interest rates during 2023 compared to what we were seeing in the prior years. So your interest went from $6,700 in 2022 to almost $50,000. So, you know, that's nice to see that. So overall, your revenues increased $234,000 compared to the prior year. And most of that was made up of the property taxes and the interest income increase. So then on the expenditure side, so your revenues were up $234,000. Overall, your expenditures were up $157,000. So kind of some comparisons there as far as where the increases in the expenditures were. Under the salaries, and I'll kind of group these together, the salaries and wages, payroll taxes, and employee benefits, those were up compared to the prior year, $71,000. Digital collection was up $11,278. Repairs and maintenance, that was up $22,243. And then the other probably largest area that saw an increase was in the area of building improvement, which was up $50,000 compared to the prior year. So those kind of accounted for the largest increases in your expenses during the past year.
Okay.
So last year, your expenditures actually exceeded your revenues by $21,565. So you spent a little bit more than what was taken in. This year, you've actually taken in more revenues than expenditures in the amount of $55,637. So that's a swing between the two of a little over $77,000.
That's for 2023.
For 2023,
Yes.
yes. So your fund balance started the year out at just under $892,000. So at the end of the year, as I mentioned earlier, the fund balance is $947,462. So again, going back to what I mentioned, the prepaid expenses is the non-spendable. The assigned is $133,000 and the unassigned is $757,000. So one of the questions that comes up that's fairly common is, okay, what should our fund balance be? And kind of the recommendation is typically in the 3 to 6 month range is kind of where you'd like to see your fund balance, that spendable fund balance. So the idea being is if we had no revenues at all, which, you know, would be pretty extreme if you didn't have any property taxes being your largest revenue there. But if you didn't have any at all, how long could we basically operate as a library without, you know, before we ran out of money? And that would be where you're at right now would be 5.5 months. So you're pretty close to that 6 month, 3 to 6 month. I mean, you're obviously above the 3 months. So I think, you know, you've got a comfortable fund balance position.
I think some of us feel like too, we need to have that fund balance position too, because we don't have a building, we don't have anything assigned for large building maintenance,
Mhm.
you know, and this building's only 5 years old.
Right. And that's one of the things that you can do as we look at the note disclosure is under the assigned, you can, you know, you're setting money aside, so you're taking it out of the, you know, the spendable fund balance and and it's still there, but you're just setting it aside for a new roof or HVAC or, you know, whatever it
Mhm.
might be. So, I mean, those are good, definitely good policies to be setting aside that kind of money so that, you know, somebody doesn't look at the spendable fund balance and go, oh, well, we got lots of money, what can we spend this on? What can we
Right,
do? You know,
right.
so, yeah, that's definitely good, good policy to follow. Okay, so those are the numbers part of the financial statements. Then the next part is the notes to the note disclosure. And I'm not gonna go through every single one of these, which you're probably glad about that, but starting on page 11, it kind of talks about. And this is, you know, all note disclosures, first of all, talk about the entity, what is this entity and what does it do? How is it formed? And so that's the first part of it, and then it talks about the various accounting policies that are followed. Which are, you know, there's quite extensive accounting policies that have been set down by the standards board, so. And that's one of the things that we're looking at to make sure that these policies are followed, and that's why you have an unmodified opinion. Page 14 in the middle talks about leases, so it kind of talks about this new standard that's been put into place. So just like I say, just all the different policies that are followed. Page 17 starts where it kind of gets into more of the details of different areas, the deposits and investments. So this is a breakdown of the cash of the library, as well as where the money is invested, the fact that the library does have an investment policy, which is followed. You know, we look at the way that the money is invested to make sure that the policy is followed. So obviously, this is something that the board would want to make sure that's happening. So, so that's a, you know, good thing to see that everything's being followed. One of the things is we look at the FDIC insurance and the bank accounts that you have. So there is some money that's because of the limitation on that insurance, there is a little bit of money that's above and beyond the insurance, 171,821.
So, and I have a question about that, because we did some changes, in the previous years, in 2023, we started using we changed banks
Mhm.
for our everyday, banking. That bank was the bank that we received all of our money into, and still receive all of our money into, for our tax revenue.
Mhm.
So we went to that bank as we looked at we did some cost analysis and decided they were the best one to go with. And so we used to have that bank, and the money would come in there and we would move it over to this, you know, this other bank. So I'm sort of surprised we've never come across this before, because we always get tax revenue in December.
Mhm.
So I think, all right, this is our primary checking account and our money market, you know, our sweep account. And this is where we also get all of our revenue into, and quite a bit of it comes in December. So I don't know how we would not be in that situation again in the future.
Yeah, well, it actually was higher last year because it was 200, or in the prior year, it was 214,000.
all right.
So it actually did come down.
Okay,
And the other thing is, again, this is kind of a snapshot at December 31st. You know, and like you say, with the tax collections and everything coming in at that point in time, it probably is higher. So, and a lot of organizations run into this because, yeah, you know, maybe you can have perfectly be below the FDIC insurance, but then you gotta have it spread all to all these different banks, and then,
which we do.
yeah. But it's just, you know, if you know, like if you wanted to have it below that, you might have to have another account open so that at December 31st, you know, everything is below that. You know, so,
Okay,
but it did go down from last year, so.
okay, I guess and I guess I overlooked that, because I thought, how would we ever not be in that situation?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
and I guess the other thing to look at is, you know, you're dealing with banks that are reputable banks. You know, you're not dealing with some of these. Like a fly by night or bank where they might say, yeah, we can pay you this
Mhm.
great interest rate, but yeah, then you kind of.
We did set up a secondary bank that we could immediately do our day-to-day business in. We have everything set up to, if something happened to this current one, we have investments over there that we could immediately start writing checks and pay payroll and those kind of things.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you're doing, you know, doing a good job of trying to get that covered. So the next item is the capital assets. So as I mentioned earlier, the overall decrease in the capital assets, which was 372,000, is really, you can see the first column is where it was at the beginning of the year. The additions in the first, the land, of course, nothing's changed with the land, but then the next section is the capital assets being depreciated. So additions to that were $236,000, but then below that, the accumulated depreciation, which is a reduction in the net book value of assets, was $609,000. So that's why your overall capital assets went down, just because of the depreciation that's being taken. And of course, the largest chunk of that is on the building
Mhm.
and the improvements that were made. And so the other thing that, you know, I always want to make sure I mention is that to remember that what's showing here are cost basis numbers. They are not replacement value or fair market value numbers. So you don't want to use these for like insurance purposes from the standpoint of, you know, looking at it saying that the building is $6.6 million. Well, it's probably worth, you know, much more than that. This is just what that cost was at the time that it was put together.
Okay,
And then the next, page 19 is the right to use assets. So this is, you know, kind of what we were talking about, the leases, furniture and equipment, basically equipment that's being leased is 38,000. And then the liability on that is showing on note 5, the leases, which is made up of principal and interest. So what we do is the interest is kind of calculated on what is your borrowing rate. So we kind of figure out what the interest would be. So you know how much you have to make in lease payments, and then we figure out basically what the imputed interest on that would be based on what your borrowing rate would be.
So reverse engineer it.
Yeah, basically, yep, backing into it. Note 6 discusses the library building. The agreement that was entered into with the White Lake Township. The construction of the building through the bonds that were issued by the township. So on page 21 is the fund balance note. So this is more detail of what I was talking about earlier. The non-spendable is the prepaid expenses, so you can't spend those. The assigned is what's been set aside for the various purposes. So that would be something, you know, as you're moving forward, you might be looking at to say, okay, do we want to set some money aside, as I mentioned, like a new roof for the HVAC or, you know, whatever. So thinking about setting more monies aside for that, starting to build maybe a balance for those types of items that might come up down the road. So that when you get to that point, you've got money kind of setting there in your assigned balance, so you're not scrambling, trying to figure out where in the budget we're gonna come up with this. You know, you've got it setting aside there. Okay, note. Page 22, note 11 is the MERS Healthcare Savings Plan. So this is a savings plan that the library contributes 2% of full-time employees to the plan. So its contributions during the year were just under $10,000. And then the note 12 is the defined contribution plan, which is contributions to that, and those were just under $50,000. And 10% of full-time employees' wages go into that plan. And then there's also a MERS, the 457 program, which allows employees to defer wages into that. So basically, they're setting money into that where they would have that available down the road for retirement. Note 14 is, this shows the numbers that go from going back to those first two pages we were looking at, the financial position, which is a governmental fund, and how it gets to the governmental fund or activities, showing basically the assets being added, and then the liabilities being added. And then the next page, page 24, is taking the revenue statement, the revenue and expense statement, and kind of doing the same thing, going from the modified accrual basis column and what adjustments are made to get to the change in that position column, that third column. And the last page is a budget comparison report. So this is a required statement where you take what they wanted. It used to be you would take your final approved budget and compare that to where you actually ended up. But what the standards board wanted to see was, okay, what was your original budget? Where did you end up with your final budget? You know, if there were any amendments made, but I guess you did a great job budgeting because you didn't make any adjustments to the budget. You didn't need to. Your revenues actually exceeded the budget by just under $34,000. So that's pretty darn good with coming up with a budget on that. And then the expenditures were actually less than the budget by 145,000. So bottom line is, you know, you expected, well, according to the budget, you were gonna use $124,000, and you actually added to by 55,000. And it's, you know, pretty typical when you're doing your budget. You're conservative. You're typically conservative with the revenues being a little bit under as far as what you think is actually going to end up, and then the expenditures, you kind of be a little conservative and end up
Right.
higher with your expenditures budget compared to what you actually end up with. So that is the financial statement.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you, Sherry.
I do have a question. Because, and this is my own ignorance, and I don't understand the interest rate risk. And it's on note 2 on page 17. And I think this is one of the things that we don't, there was 2 of them that we don't have that we actually don't have a policy for.
And custodial credit.
And in the custodial credit.
Mhm.
And I actually don't understand what the interest rate risk really means.
So it's basically, you know, as it says, the investments, you know, you're thinking the investments are gonna be 6% or, you know, whatever, 4%, whatever, and then the risk that the interest rates might decline.
Right.
it's, I guess, basically is what your risk is. You know, so it's just kind of taking that into account. We can provide some, kind of some template information as far as, you know,
Okay.
what would detail, what you'd want to say in your interest rate risk and kind of would probably explain that.
Because we don't have that today,
Right.
and I'm like. I mean, right now, obviously, because CDs are so good, that's what all we're using is CDs.
Mhm.
And we know what our interest rate is gonna be on those because we sign up ahead of time, right?
Yeah,
But that's not always gonna be what we're gonna do in the future.
right. The interest rate risk probably isn't really too concerned with, you know, the CDs.
Yeah, FDIC.
Because like you say, those are, I mean, they're pretty consistent. I mean, they are gonna go up or go down. But the interest rate risk is really dealing more with, a little more risky investments. If you got into some stuff that wasn't, you know, if you got beyond the CDs, which are, you know,
Mhm.
pretty straightforward. But if you get into riskier investments, then you're kind of looking into more of the interest rate risk, especially
Okay.
hedge funds and stuff like that, which obviously you're gonna steer clear of that, but.
Right. But like, I think there's a small community, like investment pool that's through the county,
Mhm.
with that. You know, because when I looked at that, when I first became treasurer, they actually weren't making what CDs were making at the
Right.
time, so it made more sense to just do CDs. So we've never really gone that path. So I thought, well, maybe that's where this interest rate risk comes into effect, is if we did that, something like that, or we did like short-term bonds or something.
Yeah, with the short-term bonds, that would be a little bit more, and then kind of depending on what the county invests in, you know, depending on how conservative or, you know, what the makeup is, because typically then when you do something like that, then we look at to see what, you know, what they're investing in to see, you know, if there's any risk there,
Okay,
but yeah, we can get some templates for that.
that would be great. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then the other one that we, in our finance subcommittee, we were, because I think the auditor, she said something about the custodial credit policy.
Yeah,
And I don't understand that either.
and we can get that as well.
Okay, because both of those truly, I was really unclear about.
Yeah.
I mean, the interest rate risk sort of made sense to me, but I'm like, is that really what they mean?
Mhm.
So, but the custodial credit policy, I don't really understand that at all. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and that, again, that's typically gets into more of the riskier type investments where you have, you know, who's the custodian of the funds, that type of thing, where it could be a little bit more involved, like where you're talking with the county, that
Mhm.
type of thing.
Okay, all
But
right,
yeah, again, we can get, you know, we can
Okay.
get some verbiage for you on that.
all right, thank you.
I think we've had a practice that's risk averse, but we don't necessarily have a policy that backs up that practice.
Well, one of the things I think is in the investment policy is that obviously we don't want any interest. We don't want to be invested in something that we lose any of the principal.
Yeah, the principal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you wanna be good custodians of the money and,
Right.
you know, it's kind of a balancing because you don't wanna be investing. Or you don't want your investments to be so low that, you know, you're not making any money at all, but yet you wanna be good custodians where you're not putting your principal at risk.
Right.
So that's kind of where it's been nice to see the CDs finally getting to be.
Well, it's made it easy.
Mhm.
Yeah, where the rates are much more, you know, they're still very, you know, risk-free.
Mhm.
And, but yet, you know, you still saw the increase in the interest income from 6,000 to 40-some thousand, you know, it makes a huge
It
difference.
does. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
All
And then, as I always mention, if there's any questions about, you know, because if you going through this, if you review it, and it's like, oh, hear about this, I should ask that or whatever, I feel free to contact me and we can answer.
Actually, I did read it through it in the last, like, couple times last week or so, and I thought, all right. I thought it was a great report, and the second time I read through it, it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, that takes some time to.
Yeah, but I really
digest
appreciated it. I thought, and then I made a few comments to April, and I thought It made a lot of sense. Some of the things that we were struggling with in the finance committee, you actually explained it in the report, so. thank you.
Okay, yeah, but again, if any questions that anybody has, feel free to give me a call.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, I need someone to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I got 5 yes votes. All right, as far as officer reports. I don't have anything.
And I don't have anything.
I have some things. Am I next? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a couple of things. My first one. This is, because this goes out to public too, is membership for the Friends is always renewed in September. So, just putting that out that,
Okay.
for anybody who wants to join or renew, that's September. And then if you are a friend, you get to come into the sale early on Wednesday. Good stuff. My other thing is I will not be here for either September September and October. So I'm looking for someone who is willing to do the minutes, which I have started already for that person. So if anybody would be willing to do the minutes, I will send you everything you need.
So this is your last meeting.
This is my last meeting. Well, unless we have something weird, but before I leave, which we won't.
Will you be here for the
The-
October budget meeting or just,
When's the
that's
October?
October 9th?
It's usually,
I will be here for that.
Okay.
Yes, wait a minute. I think so.
We hope so.
Yes, I think so. Okay, and that's what I have.
And we're going to miss you a lot.
yes.
And I can do the minutes first.
Okay, I'll give you these.
Thank
I'll
you,
explain
Carrie.
them to you, and then I'll email them to you. I'll send them to you, and then you will be able to pull them up on here and just fill in the blanks as I
Okay.
do.
Thank you.
Because I pre-write them before we start. There's a lot of stuff that's the same every month, like who's here.
Which is a smart procedure.
Yeah.
Yes, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Karen. In case we don't get to thank you.
Oh, my gosh, you're a wealth of information. It's gonna be greatly missed.
All right, so that brings us to Gwen for treasurer's report.
Besides the, well, our auditor was kind enough to go through a lot of what we went through last year, which I thought was great and very helpful. But if anybody's, looked at I'm gonna talk about, CD review within the finance committee. So
Okay.
if anybody has looked at our balance sheet or our AP aging and has any questions, I know earlier today, you had asked about a specific vendor that, and if you look at page 1 of 5 of the current cash disbursement, which Joe puts together in alphabetical order, you can see, what did we do? We wrote 8 checks to that vendor, and they all are about that same amount of money. So,
Mhm.
which I think is really great that, we have it both in alphabetical and in numeric, and it just gives an idea how we're spending our money. And I don't know if everybody always really looks through that or not. But it shows us who we're spending our money with, where it's going every month. So, and it's a nice quick glance. And then, April is working, with staff on the budget. And so we should have the budget, we're hoping to actually approve the budget in that October meeting. With a lot
On
of
the
changes.
9th
Yeah.
Or on the end of the month.
By then, I mean, obviously.
We're gonna do the review on the 9th, right? But we would like to have it really needs to be done on the end of the month. As we change board members, it's really important that, you know, the new board members are gonna be very unfamiliar with what the budget is and,
Yeah, it takes quite a while to understand.
it really does. And there really shouldn't, there's not gonna be any big surprises this year and you did a great job. Thank you. You did a really great job last year. Thanks.
I did
Yeah.
love doing it.
Oh, yeah, no, and that you've been keeping up with it all year long and discussing with the finance committee has been really, really helpful. So. greatly
Yeah,
appreciate it.
having that finance committee really makes a
It
big
is
difference.
really,
So nothing's building up at the
Yep.
end of the year.
So if anybody has any questions about our revenue and expenditure of the general fund, speak now. And if you don't, then I'm going to present the bills for payment. So. I motion to approve the bills for payment.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Yes, votes.
And that's my report.
Thank you.
So it's time for your
Time for me.
library director report.
great. I'm going to, I've got quite the share folder, so I'm gonna start passing that around. I've got a nice thank you card from Ann, the director of the Highland White Business Association for our recent posting. And thank you to Carrie and Edith for attending. And sent a delightful note. I want you to see that. We did receive a comment and suggestion. It was anonymous, but they gave a great idea, which was to have a paper recycling bin available by the self-checkout. As people take out their old slips, that's paper, and we were finding a lot in the garbage and that could easily be recycled. So can't really thank you for it, but thank you for it. This is a paper copy of a new educator newsletter that Emily has created that will go out digitally to many teachers and principals locally.
Nice.
To kind of connect with them and to give them updates and tell them more about us. One of our regulars here, which after talking to him, I spent a little bit of time talking to him in my office, come to find out that he actually knows my dad and my husband. So that was interesting. But anyways, he's a large proponent of the library and the Idea Lab. And so he posted in his social media in his where he lives, and I will just let you see that, I will not announce it, about the Friends and about them donating books to their little free library. So that was very nice. Cool. Then I said it's a lot. Sorry. Emily has done a great job by creating a map of the youth area collection. I love
Fabulous.
this.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, that is fabulous.
So kind of, you are here, go there. So she's gonna continue to work on it. She may do some number stuff. I said, I jokingly said, why don't we hang some, like aisle things like the grocery store? I'm joking.
I'm not. That's a great idea.
That would be aisle 5.
Yeah. Because I do get lost over there. So I think this is great.
And then we have a very nice email, and this one had to do with our when we did our in-service day. One of the things we did was we invited the public as well as staff to create these little bookmarks of different things on them, and then we took those bookmarks and we sent them to one of our pages. Is originally from another country, and her sister is actually a librarian who works in a library over there. And so we sent them to her. And so this is an email through Heather thanking us for that.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. Very nice.
So that's very nice. And then again, we've been keeping up with our donations. Our public has been keeping up with donations for all of the local shelter, for animals, and this kind of tells what we have collected. So I'm gonna pass that on. You can show and tell.
Show and tell.
Okay, been kind of a busy month. We hosted the White Lake Fire Department Youth Academy for a week. This is the second year in a row that we have done this, and they are already asking again for next year. They are a wonderful group to work with. They come in, they do setup, takedown, they clean up, they take care of everything, and it's just great having the kids in the building. Along that same line, we also hosted for one day, the Police Youth Academy and graduation. So two great connections with our local police and fire department. We have completed our manager and our staff mid-year evaluations and meetings, and those are all done. We have hired a new facilities specialist. His name is David Crane, and we are thrilled.
Oh, that's
He
great.
is
Excellent.
fantastic. I cannot tell you, he's been here for just over a week, and the things that are getting done, I'm just blown away. I'm like, hey, okay, you are gonna stay now, aren't you? So he's great, very talented. He's very, very excited, very thankful. So, hopefully you'll get a chance to meet him. Again, we did host the Highland Lakes Business Association. Like I said, Ann's letter was great. They had to create this little promotional material. It's called Sharpen Our Skills SOS. And all the businesses do it when they post. And Ann actually did say that ours was very well done and that she was going to use it in the future. So as a template for other people to follow. As you said, we added a wheelchair. So thank you to Jen for that wonderful suggestion. And we changed vendors for our print newsletter, saving us $1,000. And although the business isn't located in White Lake, the owner is a White Lake resident.
Oh, nice.
So
Very nice.
that was great.
Who's the new vendor?
Verdant, it's called. And if you received your fall, you should have received that. And so, yeah.
Okay, I have not.
Oh.
I don't know. I did either. I have.
No, I've been gone and I had my mail held and now I realize it wasn't in my held mail.
Right,
Oh,
right.
boy.
That's very good. I had my mail held and they forgot to hold it. Only my neighbor noticed. I also didn't get mine.
No, I just, and you know, I do that USPS thing where it tells me every day my mail that I've come through. And I can tell you, I never showed up in my email, because I was looking for some very specific things and I was looking, and I know, because I was in here and checked something out yesterday, and I went, the newsletter's out? And I saw it by the checkout, and I didn't pick one up because I thought I must have it at home, but then I actually went through last night. So it did not come with my held mail.
And that's odd because I directly talked to someone at the annex and they assured me that I'll get all the boxes.
And you didn't get it either.
Okay.
No, we didn't either. We realized we picked one up here, but we didn't get the one in the mail.
Okay, I will call them back.
And we live nowhere near each other.
No, we
Not on
don't.
the same route.
No.
Okay.
But
So now you wonder,
we got ours like by the 9th. I mean, we got ours early.
Okay.
Cause it was the day I got back from the hospital, I went through the mail and it was there.
Okay,
So
interesting. All right,
we got ours really early.
Have to see what's going on over there. Okay, circulation services, TLN has approved a new teacher card. So you'll see, we're creating a brochure for that so that our teachers can check out more items for longer periods of time to help with curriculum purposes.
awesome.
Students.
Great.
So this is something, very happy that went through TLN, because when I first came, I really wanted to do a teacher card, but TLN said, we're working on one, and I said, great, I'm gonna wait for you. So
Yeah.
Kim was on that committee, and so I thank her for her work on that.
Oh, yeah.
She was also invited, this is actually really cool. The Waterford Library Circulation Manager invited Kim to do a joint new card project in September for National Library Card Month, where they'll be able to go to, say, like Walmart or maybe Home Depot or something, some of these businesses that will accept us having a table there, the two of them, to sign people up for library cards.
Nice.
Very excited. about that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, that was really great. Really happy to see that.
Oh, that's
partnership.
great.
So that's good there. Let's see what else. I'm doing my usual stuff under Director Connections. Lots of meetings, obviously, you're there at them, so you know that. And I have now really pretty much graduated. There was 2 Library of Michigan directors meetings, and one was for newbies and one was for regular. And so I've officially graduated. It was 2 years in the newbie, and I think now they're kind of like, okay, you need to show up at this other one. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so that's been it's very helpful because, you know, we do get to see Claire, and Ella in those meetings and sometimes our attorneys, Foster Swift, which they do a great job. I got to tour the Clarkston Library. That was very nice. And yesterday I went to the White Lake Historical Society Veterans Reception. That was really nice and really fabulous. You got to see a lot of memorabilia, just, you know, just old uniforms, old pictures and some original, some Civil War from the Civil War, which would be our citizens here. That written out cards, handwritten, and just to see their beautiful handwriting and what was going on and all the way through, you know, Vietnam and all of that. So I met
Wow.
some of the veterans and got to talk to some historical society.
April, where was that?
It was at the annex at the
Okay.
township.
Okay.
So very well done. Facilities again, so you'll see some of the things that are getting accomplished there. We did add an electrical outlet behind the youth information desk for the new monitor that's gonna be there. And obviously getting some HVAC work done. On Friday, we are going to have some of those repairs started by Jonathan Controls. You're gonna see a lot more on the facilities report now, so I'm very excited about that. Friends, as you know, the Ostrowski Memorial was not stable. And so originally they had talked about maybe putting in a pad and they didn't. The installer had just put cement into the ground. It wasn't good enough. And so the next suggestion was from the new person was not a pad, but individual square pads. And so they also put a concrete stamp on those to make them look a little nicer. They have put on some, and my lack of knowing what they put on things, but it made it shiny and dark. It can be made darker if people buy it and say that needs to be a little darker. But otherwise it's good, it's stable, it's not going to fly off and break a window or hurt a person or anything like that. So
It looks nice.
yeah, I think so too.
I was amazed that was done. Like, whoa, they did that already.
It's pretty fast. Okay, so the friends, they are looking forward, they're doing meet and greets with other friends groups. And so the first one on the list, the friends from Milford, this in September. The dinner murder mystery is sold out.
It's
I'm
good, I know.
so sad.
Yeah.
I'm happy, but I'm sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So that's going well, and we're very excited about that. They're doing a great job. Do not miss the Friends Annual Meeting on October 15th. It'll include the presentation of the 2024 Friends contribution of $40,000 and their election of officers. So if you can't be there, I understand. I am going to invite them to the October meeting for another photo op with all of you. So that will be coming. They will also discuss a proposed slate of officers for the coming year. And
Shoot, okay. I think I'll be out of town that week.
to reiterate the membership, it's a good time to.
Pardon?
I know I'm out of town.
Yeah, I'm out of town that week, but they're coming to our October board meeting.
I'm going to invite
Okay.
them too, so like we did last year.
Okay, thank you.
And again, they plan on pledging $45,000 for 2025, so a huge thank you to our friends. They are just amazing.
They are amazing. So grateful.
Okay, as I mentioned before, we had about 198 items for the Oak County Animal Shelter. And Amy is nice enough to deliver those. We received some blue, I was gonna say blue K, how about 4K? Okay, let's go with that. We received more of those. We received a cute little small kids bookshelf, which our staff have been able to use to organize their test material. Idea Lab is coming around with more organization. We're working on, Maria's doing a great job on that. Already working on fall program, working more on looking at winter now too. And congratulations to Amy for being accepted into Library of Michigan's 2024 Conversation Camp for Library Leaders 2-day conference cohort.
Nice job.
Okay, SRP is over. At September, we will have the Miss Emily's presentation about how that went, but you can see there that we were up over 245 more participants this year than last year.
Mhm.
And it was fabulous.
That was great.
Was it across all age groups,
Yeah.
that 240?
My Leo did it.
Did he?
He absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
Come in here and get his little prize.
Yeah.
He was really thrilled.
We estimated about 300 people attended the SRP birthday party bash.
It was a huge hit.
It was fun.
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely adorable. It was great. The fire department did everybody did a phenomenal job, but the fire department was for the little kids
Yeah, they really.
and the cake with the blue frosting. Oh, yeah, huge
Oh,
hit.
yeah, they enjoyed that.
Oh, with his fire hat on and the blue frosting.
We had to
Yes.
devise a plan for handing out cake because they were sort of swarming.
Well, yeah.
It was
You guys
great.
had just started cutting when it was announced outside, the cake's ready.
It was.
And
Yeah.
the fire department gave out little
Yeah.
trucks, fire trucks. Oh, they did a phenomenal job. Everything was great. It was so nice to see so many people here. Just joyful. It was
That's
really
what it
fun.
was.
Yeah.
It's been families and it was just
Yeah.
wonderful. And big shout out to our face painter, Amy, that was totally volunteer and it's just because she likes doing it. And so that's so wonderful but we do want to get a second one for next year. because
Oh, for sure.
it's so popular. Okay.
She had such intricate face
Oh.
designs, it
Yeah.
wasn't just a quick, rainbows and sparkles, she really.
She did a great job.
Yeah, very impressive.
A big thank you to one of our landscaping volunteers, Nancy, who trimmed the bushes across from the drive up. That was to improve patron visibility. Kim brought to my attention that when you were driving from the drive up out of the drive up window area, if you didn't look to your right, there's a walkway
Right.
and the bushes were coming out and it blocked the view of seeing maybe the little ones
Mhm.
or even adults. And so
Right.
she did that, and she also did the front shrubs. Those are nice and trimmed down to window ledge again.
Nice.
Makes it look a little more younger and fresher. And then Boynton Fire Extinguisher Emergency Lighting Testing done. Staff anniversaries, Kathleen Corbett, 15 years.
That's great. That is great.
And our Daniela, whom I mentioned, 4 years. So,
Nice.
good stuff. We can now print banners on photo paper, so see that coming soon. We're looking at some scheduling software. We replaced a broken all station.
What do you mean we now print banners?
Yeah, so on the Toshibas, on our copier printers, we can print look that banner over there, that one.
So that size.
Print that size specifically, in addition to our poster printer.
Okay. Because I read that and I thought, what exactly does that mean? So like, is that a printout from that?
It is.
Okay, because you showed me that last week and that is really nice. That's fabulous.
As a side note, and that just reminded me that next year's our 50th anniversary. And so I'm gonna be putting together a 50th anniversary committee to discuss things that we wanna do in general for the year. And so if any of you are interested in, being on a committee like that or giving some input on what you
Nice.
would like to see, please let me know. Okay, stats.
Wow.
Oh, just had the 35 on the front door,
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
that was 15 years.
Yeah, I'm just like.
Do you want to
okay.
do something? So stats, I kind of thought we would go down, but we didn't. As a side note on that, I'll give you a slight construction update to go with that. I did, kind of yesterday, obviously that site entrance is coming along, but it's gonna be another couple of weeks before we will be redirected on that.
Okay,
They still have yet to they've got to put in street lamps down there, and so there's still more going on.
Okay.
Since I hear more, I'll let you know.
so the road work is not completed.
Looks good.
It does look good.
So, yeah.
When we move off that, I think it deserves recognition that last month was a record number, over
Oh,
25,000.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So in the 4.5 years you've been tracking it, it's the highest number it's been, and it cleared 25,000, which is a huge milestone. So
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
it's
We're
awesome.
tracking longer than that. We
Yeah.
brought it down to 5 years because the thing was
Yeah.
getting so wide.
I
we
think 5
couldn't
years is
read
plenty.
it anymore. So, yeah, it's been tracked a long time and that is fabulous.
It is.
Yeah, and that's a big kudos to staff because they run around, and today alone was so packed, they had to open up this room. Basically, so many people are out of power, they come here, which is really nice.
Mhm.
The phone calls were off the hook, are you open, do you have power? And so they were coming here. They walked out the other day to leave for the day, and I just took a look around because I'm like, what are all these people doing there?
So are all of our hotspots, did they get all checked out today?
I can play because I had some family issues today,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I don't know.
But I would,
One in and it quickly went out, so.
because I had several people actually text me this morning, hey, I'm out of power, what time's the library open? Because I always tell people that they can come and get a hotspot, and I said, doesn't open till 10.
I didn't think of that. I don't have internet. I have power, but no internet. So.
Yeah, we lose internet now a lot more than we do.
And the hotspots are great. I usually
Yeah.
take one, if there's one available, I take it with me when I travel.
Mhm.
And I had a couple important things going on, like some subcommittee meetings last week. When I was out of town, and my husband had something really important going on, and my brother-in-law actually showed up, and he was flying internationally, and he stopped by to my father-in-law's house, and everybody needed internet, and it went out. And everybody was like scrambling, and my husband comes running upstairs and says, where's that hotspot? I'm like, so it was, it really helped out, so it was great. I'm really glad we got more of them, and that we can take them out for more than a week, so it's really paid off.
That's
All right, thank you, April. Yeah. When you said you're gonna do CD stuff.
Yeah, is that next is finance
Finance
committee?
committee.
Yes, okay. So, we've had a couple meetings, and we've had 2 meetings since the last, board meeting. And, so we're working on April's working on the budget for 2025, and she shares it with us every month. And, we talk about different things and I'm hopes that are going forward. And so I'm certainly hoping that, our October meeting goes well, and that we can approve it in the end of in our regular board meeting in October. I just don't really see any reason why not. The only thing that we really we've been trying to think about is what we're gonna do about the fund balance, but that really has to come out of the building committee about what we need to set aside, for future repairs, right? So we have a CD that's coming due in September, and we only have one, and it's from Genesis, and it's a 7-month, and as I looked at it, the 7-month is still their best rate. I would like to do another 7-month. So I'm gonna do a motion that we roll that CD over for another 7 months. However, one of the things that I noticed, so I'm gonna make a little bit of a change. Because I think if I'm looking at all of our assets correctly, we have a little bit more than $250,000 in that, in Genesis. So I think we need to, instead of just doing a true rollover, I think we're going to need to, I've got to check. You're gonna have to bear with me while I look for that, because I think I saw it yesterday and I went, oh, I think we're only a couple $1,000s over what we're supposed to be. And so do we want to, yeah, here we go. It's the last page of it's the last page of the financial packet. It's the cash and short-term investments. If you look at Genesis, cash and certificate of deposit, it says 252,597.71. So we have $140,000 CD that is coming due. I'm going to recommend that we take that interest and move it over to our checking account. Okay,
So.
the checking, the interest is,
The 52,000?
so we so today we have two Genesis accounts. The balance right now, so we have two Genesis CDs, okay, so technically we only have $250,000 for FDIC insurance, right? And the balance as of the end of July is 252, 597.71 for those two CDs. So when we do this, this $140,000, it still doesn't really get us down there, does it? I mean, it's only a couple $1,000s, but I thought, well, maybe we just roll over strictly the 140,000 and there'd be this, it's gonna be a little bit more than $1,800, it's gonna be about $2,000. That I thought, well, we could have them cut us a check and we can deposit it into Flagstar. Okay, so it'll give us, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but you know, looking at what the auditor was saying about us being over on some of these things, I'm thinking, all right, we probably, we probably should try to, as much as possible, stay under that $250,000. Because I think the only ones that were really insured for $500,000 is the ones that are Flagstar and Chase, where we also have a checking account. And they don't consider us a small business, they consider us a government entity. All the rest of these financial institutions consider us a small business, and so we're under that $250,000 FDIC rule rather than the $500,000 for a municipality. Okay. Then the next CD that is due is 11/12/24 for CD for Chase. I'm sorry, it's $225,000. I'm gonna bring that to the next board meeting in September because I want to look at that and that do we really want to open another maybe credit union in the area? And we don't really. And I'm saying that because this specific bank is our lowest interest right now, and it has consistently been for CDs. So if there's another place that we can have a higher interest rate in some of that money, we don't really need to have all that $225,000 total into that entity. We could move it to a CDAR, we could move it to another local credit union, you know, some of it. We just need to leave a balance of over $100,000 to not have to pay any fees, okay? So I'm gonna investigate that and I'll bring it to the board next month. When I'm done with the finance committee report, I will then ask for the motion about the CD. One of the other things that we would like to do is we've had some various things happening to people on that are signers. And, you know, it's just life in general that takes place. And Rich is not gonna be here next year. You know, he's chose not to run for the board again. And he has been a signer for a long time. And thank you so much, Rich. So I would like to add our third finance committee person in September to our to be a signer. And that's Carrie. Okay, so I'd like to add Carrie as a signer. So in case there are issues, one, there won't be any issues transitioning in November because you'll be gone. And if, you know, I was ill or Jen was ill or we were out of town and something absolutely needed to be signed, we need to have two signers. So that would give us an opportunity to train Carrie and then we'd just not have any opportunity for missed, you know, payments anywhere. So I'm gonna present that and, you know, if there's any discussion about it, you know, any concerns?
No, sounds good.
Okay, so I thought, well, let's be preemptive.
Yeah.
And add Carrie to that.
Do you want? So would it make sense to add add Carrie and take me off.
Well, I thought about that, but then we're in,
So,
I mean,
because
we
you'll
could
have-
do it all at once. We
Then
could,
you're set going forward, assuming that,
because we always have just 3 signers.
Yeah.
Um,
well, I mean, there's still an election to be had, that, you know, you never know. But you'd be in position, because to add somebody, you have everybody. It's a new, you're basically, it's a new
All-
signature
right.
card, everybody has to go
Right.
in, so if you're gonna do that, and then. November 20th, you'll need to remove me, which means you'll need a new library, signing card.
do we need a new signing card to have you removed?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, been there,
We've been there, yeah, but
Been
it
there,
got very
been there.
complicated
Yeah.
that one time.
yeah,
Yeah,
and doing it, now would let you,
well, we could do it that way.
yeah,
We-
because if not, when you remove him, you have to start all over
Yeah.
and everybody has to sign again. Any change.
Well, I know like for Flagstar, because our signatures will be on file, that it will only be online. We'll do DocuSign,
Mm,
which is really, really nice. None
But we've had.
of the
that
rest
one
of them, I
before.
think, are
it's
that
all
advanced.
you have to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there was, you all had to be there at the same time. and-
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to do that anymore,
But
because we
it-
weren't the last time, when
But
I,
it just got all complicated when.
Okay,
people were
so,
getting-
if you're all right with that, Rich, because I just planned on doing it twice, to tell you the truth.
It's a lot of work for,
I know, but I just thought, okay,
Yeah,
we'd be covered for a couple months if
have
we had a
have
problem.
an ordered presentation.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
You want to do it maybe in a couple of weeks and Carrie can come in and kind of see how. you
Oh,
meet,
yes.
So that like you can go over.
For
at
sure.
least the checks and stuff like that, how that works.
Mhm.
yeah, we would, I would just want to do it before the next board meeting. Okay. All right. Okay, well, I'll present it that way, all right, and then, so we all have to vote on that, and then the financial policies, we have a fund balance, we're working on a fund balance policy, and,
Should you make the motion and?
well, I was gonna go, we can, I was gonna make the city motion and then the board signer motion.
the board is in new business. The board signing is in new
Oh.
business.
Oh, it is?
Yep. Oh,
Okay,
so you can make
All right,
that motion.
okay,
now. Yep.
all right, so then I am going to make, where? Okay, so that's it. So then I can just make the CD motion right now, right?
Mhm.
So I have to think about this. I present a motion to renew the Genesis 7-month CD for a principal of $140,000.
140K, okay.
The interest to go into our Flagstar checking account.
Interest. Yep. Like start checking, is that what you said, right?
Yeah, our
Okay.
Flagstar checking account. So I did say 7 months, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so I make a motion to renew the current Genesis 7-month CD with principal only of $140,000 in the remaining interest to go to our Flagstar checking account. When it matures on 9/15/24.
Second,
I'll second that.
Okay.
all in favor?
I,
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Five yes votes.
Okay,
So strategic planning committee, we didn't meet, right?
We don't meet till September, but if you have any questions about the August report, what's in there, just continuing our work on things like I mentioned, under strategy 1. So you've got a first educator newsletter going out. We are also going to be attending local schools for things such as curriculum night, parent open houses, coming up for the next few weeks. Obviously, we've looked at lockers, building committee has gotten together to talk about that. What anything really is.
When's our meeting?
That is set. September. 1 o'clock. Yeah, so if you have any questions.
All right. Policy committee.
So we met last Tuesday and we had two different confidentiality policies that we were looking at. On the current one and the new one. And we talked about it overall. There's a lot of redundancies between the two. So rather than combine the two policies, we are recommending that the attorney version of the confidentiality policy, which is contained in the packet you've got, is the one that we're recommending for review and approval by the full board. It's the one that's labeled as 4D public access to library records. It basically incorporates everything that was in the other policy and narrows it down, makes it a little more legal language, and overall is just a cleaner version.
Okay.
So I don't know if we need to vote on that. I assume we have to.
It's under new business.
Okay. Okay. And then we also talked about the current time off policies and are recommending a combined PTO policy as opposed to what we've got currently. With the Michigan Supreme Court ruling on the Earned Sick Time Act, we've requested a meeting with the attorney for further feedback on how to proceed. And the attorney will meet with the committee via Zoom on the next meeting. Let's go with that.
I was surprised.
I'm really glad.
Glad, I was surprised. I know how busy he is, because he knows a lot about this earned sick time. To meet with us is great, so I'm definitely gonna get review and get my questions.
Okay, good.
So,
And then lastly, we're waiting for the attorney to review the current collection development policy. And our next meeting is September the 17th.
Do we have to?
Not till new business.
That's a new thing.
I'm just getting it on, so.
Yeah. Does anybody, do we need a report from the building committee? Who's doing that? Is it you, Karen?
Yeah,
Okay.
so bear with me. We have a lot to throw out there, but Jen, Rich, April, if I'm missing anything or you have additions, please jump in. First off, acoustics for the Idea Lab in the mix. April contacted Alexis at Pontiac Ceiling and Partition to ask if she had completed designs and quotes. So we're kind of waiting in a holding pattern, waiting to hear back from her, as I understand it. Our rep at Castell gave us an overview of their quotes for the Idea Lab. And based on our feedback, they're going to be providing an updated quote and data on how much our acoustics will improve with each of the options that they presented. And finally, in that section, our rep from Image 360 is going to present his acoustics quote to the committee at our next meeting on September 9th. Building assessment sheet. April has contacted DSLRT to inquire about companies that provide building assessments. We discovered the cost can be quite high, but she did find some companies, including McCarthy Smith. And finally, we discussed the possibility that we may be able to accomplish the assessment in-house. So we'll see about that.
Okay.
After our hold lockers. So because we need an estimate for the 2025 budgeting process, April has contacted Envisionware to provide a quote, and they've done so. This doesn't mean we're going with them or we're moving in this direction. However, we all agreed it should be in the budget for 2025. The committee also discussed how we were feeling that the overall cost of providing 24/7 lockers is high and should only be considered if it can be funded from the regular budget rather than the fund balance. In that section, we also explored the idea of browsable collection vending machines, and to determine whether to pursue this initiative. We're thinking about gathering more information, including surveying our patrons to see how utilitarian something like that might be. The questions we discussed are, does this fit in our plan right now, or is it something we should revisit in a year or two? And then we also discussed the digital sign, and we're working on a second quote from Image 360 for the 2025 budget. Also, we discussed the donor tree update, and April's got lovely photos.
Oh,
I
great.
think it looks really fantastic.
So the digital sign, is this an upgrade to the software or is it?
Grade in general is to.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's due.
so yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this
I
is
know, but it's
the
really, the
this is the
pixels
donor
are awful.
tree. Please
That's
ignore-
beautiful.
Please ignore the name, that's not what we're gonna call it, but I'm gonna pass that around. This here is, and please ignore my chicken scratch on this one, but this is the dedication plaque.
Oh, yeah. that's
Obviously,
nice.
some changes will need to be made to that, but that's an image of that, which as you can see will be in the front vestibule. On the right when you walk in. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna pass it this way, so that
Okay.
we don't.
We don't have to rush.
So we cross them
Yeah, that- Except the person who gets it in. the
It'll be
end.
rich.
Are the birds glass too, or just, okay, I couldn't remember.
Originally, when Jen and I were talking with our rep,
I like
it was
that.
gonna be above the wood. And
gonna be a
he made a
shrub.
good point.
Yeah.
It'd be a shrub. Bush.
Don't
So, yeah, don't shrub. But the lower part actually is only an inch off the wall. So it's not like a tripping hazard or anything.
Yeah, it's about what the
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
chair room is.
And each of those book sides are actual images of sides of books,
Okay,
so.
nice.
Okay.
So do each of these little glass leaves have a name on them?
Yeah, they will.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
And there's a QR code.
Yeah.
There's
That's
QR
neat.
code on the
The
donor,
tree trunk.
I'm sorry, on the dedication plaque that takes you to directly to the landing page on our website for donations.
Very nice. Excellent.
So,
Yeah, make it easy.
yeah.
I give money if it's real easy.
So
Very nice.
put those QR codes out there, tie it in with our website and fundraising.
We had a lot, going back about 7 or 8 years. We went QR code crazy. They didn't really get used, but now phones like eat them up. So,
Yeah, you can do it and it actually knows what you're doing and.
yeah, you don't need a
During
special.
18, they were popular and then they were not.
Yeah.
And then COVID came and all of a sudden now they're really
They're
popular.
really
Yeah.
popular.
Switched on their menus,
Yeah.
restaurants.
Yeah,
All right, so is that it for building committee? Karen?
One more thing,
Okay.
finally, April alluded to this, but in terms of HVAC issues, Goyette was in for routine maintenance and changed filters. April also had Johnson Controls take a look at smoke detectors and the other issues continually affecting the building's heating and cooling. And they've provided quotes and will be out soon to do repairs.
Friday.
Oh, and our next meeting is Monday, September 9th.
All right, so moving on to new business. Adding the payee name to positive pay.
Do you want to talk about it? or you want me
First
to?
thing there.
Okay, so, in another realm of my life, I've been meeting with a bank and then also when I was meeting with the auditors. The auditor actually was the one probably that alerted me the most, is that there is another library in the area that was not putting payee on their positive pay. So we have this file, that we upload to Flagstar every week. Joe gives it to us. And Flagstar went with a new software system and I was able to read their directions and actually create create the template to go into the database. And it was a breeze. And I was like, And it gave us much more information than the old one used to, and it shows you each check and it tells you the amount. I was able to calculate the amount on Joe's spreadsheet and it matched what went in. But we don't have the payee on there. So I thought, boy, this is unbelievably easier. I mean, it's literally seconds to upload the entire file. So, I created a template. It was super easy. Then April was gone, and of course, in that meantime, Joe had actually rewritten the way he does the report, so I had a couple columns wrong, but I got it. I mean, I looked at it right away and it was super easy to use now. But when I was sitting with the auditor in June, she said, I asked her about things that we could do for improvement. She said, I noticed that your positive pay doesn't have a payee on it. And she said, we've had a couple instances in a library in another company that we audit, that because they didn't have the payee on that, somebody actually was had taken a check, put their name on it instead, and cashed significantly large checks. And one of them was another local library. And without that payee on there, there's no going back and saying this is fraud. So I suggest, and the auditor suggests, and I'm sort of surprised he didn't bring it up today, but the lady that did our audit said, this is something you should really put back on your positive pay, is that payee. So I think, Rich, the problems that we had with it before were, simple things that were, like a comma and a period. And
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that we don't come across that kind of situation again. But I think that we need to put it, for safety purposes and for fraud purposes, we need to add payee back.
As long as we take the data out of QuickBooks, sort of directly in there, so
Right.
it matches.
Right.
There.
And I'll rewrite that template, and it was super easy. I just took his CSV file that he uploads to Smart Vault. And I literally took that and looked at what the columns were, and I created the template, and I
You save it as a CSV.
and I can actually do it as a test, and it told me, and I saved it, and I just saved it as the template that Flagstar looks at, and then you just take his Smart Vault upload of, I mean, it's basically the check, and literally I uploaded it, and it was seconds later, and it told if something didn't match 100%, it actually told me right then and there. It would highlight that one in red. So anyway, I just thought it was much simpler than what we were going through before, when we had to manipulate the data.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to manipulate that data at all. So as long as what was in QuickBooks gets put on that CSV file, gets put on the check, and that all matches, we really shouldn't have an issue. So, but it's making me think about, with this new system, I don't know if we have the alert set. Besides I don't know if we have a text alert set. Do you get text alerts from them?
I remember at the last time I received,
A text alert?
if it was, it may have been, but
Okay.
I'll double check.
I mean, we can always go back and look at that. I mean, we do get the email, right? But, so I make a motion that for our, checking account, that, at Flagstar, we add the payee back to the positive pay file that is uploaded weekly.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And if we ever have to use Chase, it's required. Positive, we had to put it in there. They don't allow you to do, positive pay without a payee.
It's so easy that I stopped entering them one by one. That's how easy it was to just flip it up. Flip and remove a column.
Well, yeah, but when we do this positive pay, I'll make sure all the columns line up the right way this time.
So you want to make your motion on adding Carrie as a signer?
Yes.
And removing Rich?
Can I ask a quick question before we do that? Do I have to recuse myself for this vote?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
It's a good question.
So I make a motion to make a change to our authorized board signers for all banking institutions that we deal with today. And we will be removing Rich McGlue as a board signer and adding Carrie and. Okay, Carrie, honestly, I can't remember your last name.
Francis.
Oh my gosh.
I thought maybe,
Okay,
not sure if that's where she was.
I think you'll want to have a motion,
Do we need two separate ones
no, a motion to,
for each bank?
no, well, yes, we'll need one for each bank, and we'll need to say to, this is the approved.
oh,
List.
yeah.
Okay,
Because-
okay, thank you very
because we
much. Yes,
walk in
that's what we
there
did
Yeah,
last
you
time,
have
yes.
to be
Yes,
separate,
okay.
that's right.
It's a,
All right.
So
you-
give
it's a white,
Okay, so hang on, thank you, Rich.
Yes.
I don't know what we're gonna do without you and Karen.
No, that was one of those.
Yes, okay, so here we go.
Give,
All right.
start by giving me the names of the banks that we're gonna do that.
So it's Flagstar,
Okay,
Genesis, Lake Michigan Credit Union, and Chase.
okay, in that order.
We'll do them in that order.
Thank you.
So. And then I'm going to make a motion that the new signers, the new board signers for all financial institutions, including beginning with Flagstar, or I can just say, how do I want to say this? I make a motion that the board signers will be, for Flagstar, will be Carrie Francis, Gwendolyn Newton, and Jennifer Schultz.
Okay.
Do I even need to say where we're removing you?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
okay,
Here's the,
Right.
yeah.
Seconded.
okay, so,
Thank you, Rich.
okay,
Okay, I make a motion that the board signers for Genesis Credit Union are. You wanted to say something,
You have multiple accounts, right?
but we only have one signature card though, I thought.
I think there's only one card.
Okay,
For all, so
Okay,
for all
okay.
accounts.
yes, read me back what Flagstar said, because we can,
so,
you're right.
motion that board signers for Flagstar Bank will be Carrie, Gwen, and Jen. And that's, yeah,
For all accounts.
okay,
Thank you
there we go.
for all accounts. Okay, I make a motion that for all Genesis credit union accounts, the board signers will be Carrie Francis, Gwendolyn Newton, and Jennifer Schultz.
Seconded.
And I'm just going in alphabetical order.
And I'm just seconding all of them just to make it easier.
Yeah, that makes it all less.
Did we vote on the first?
Yeah, we have to do them individually, so. We need to vote on the Flagstar. Then you say it all over again, and then we vote on the,
Okay,
okay, so,
all right, so Jen,
Are we gonna vote on all of them at the end? Or
No.
Are we gonna vote on?
we're gonna do them one at a time.
Okay, so Eric seconded,
Yep,
all in favor? It's 5 yeses.
okay,
okay, and I made the motion for Genesis. And Eric second.
yep,
Okay, so voting on the Genesis motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I make a motion for all accounts at Lake Michigan Credit Union. The board signers will be Carrie Francis, Gwendolyn Newton, and Jennifer Schultz.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that the board signers for all accounts at Chase Bank will be Carrie Francis, Gwendolyn Newton, and Jennifer Schultz.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We're going to have to remember that in the future, that we have to do them all separately.
But you can still just take in those minutes and it'll show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the deal last time, you said.
Yes,
Yeah,
we had to
just
do that.
pulled
Yes,
it
we
up
took in the
and
minutes,
that's
yeah,
what we did then.
Yeah.
okay.
All right. So the next was Eric
Congratulations.
voting on the confidentiality.
Thank you,
report that
Gary.
You were talking
Thank
about.
And you, Rich.
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion, I don't know if you need to review this first, but I'd like to make a motion that we accept 4D public access to library records as the new confidentiality policy for the White Lake Township Library.
Okay, wait a second. You need to talk. Wait. that's-
Sorry. That's okay.
Okay, it has to be with the name change.
Yes,
And did we review this at last board meeting?
we talked about it briefly. I don't know if we went into any great detail. If we want to go through it point by point, we certainly can.
I'm thinking if I just go through it, I'll be okay. I didn't remember though, because I know it's come up before, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you make the motion, Eric?
I did.
Yeah,
But he's gonna have to say it again because it was way too fast for me.
And it's this one that we're accepting, correct? Or is it
Yeah,
this?
so it would be the draft.
This is the,
That's the attorney one.
okay, so the attorney one is the one we're
The
using, correct?
name of the attorney's- We're gonna change the name, keep the same number. But just change the title and the new policy.
Okay, so this is the one that we're
That's
approving
the new one.
with the new title, but with the new, with this title,
With that, that's. the new
with this title,
name.
okay, okay. All right, so the motion was to approve the new confidentiality policy listed as confidentiality policy disclosure of library records.
It's on the very top of this.
Yep.
Okay, yes.
So is that the entire thing?
Yeah, it'll go under the 4D public access to library records.
Right.
B, and then it will be confidential policy disclosure of library records.
Okay,
And should we say this to replace the current policy? Yes.
for the current, yeah, and let's specify the, it's 4DB.
Karen, if you want me to spell that out, I can read that last part.
okay, so. see if I got this right.
Okay, yep.
Motion to approve the new confidentiality policy disclosure of library records under 4DB to replace the current policy.
Yes, the current, if you want to list the current policy, we can list that by name as well.
No,
No,
Okay, that's fine. That's the motion then.
okay,
I have a second.
thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any voice votes? So what do you want to do with the?
Okay, thanks for asking. Okay, so as you know, over the last few months, including going to PLA, we've looked at several mobile app providers. These were the three that we narrowed it down to. One of them completely overpriced for what is offered. The majority of these apps offer, barring a couple of small things here and there, the same thing. Overall, and you can see some of that with the quotes that I provided with their list. For us, we would like to go with actually the cheapest version, but that's just one reason. TLC Go, which happens to be endorsed with the library network and thus is providing us with a discount. My reasons for not choosing the one that is just slightly above that, my Libro, is because some of the things that were on there are just not things that at this time we would be taking advantage of, or need right now. And so I don't feel that it's necessary. But my other really key reason with this company is not only did I hear from another director that the support and the communication was lacking, but I did find that in my work with them in trying to procure a quote, and that's why you'll see that the quote came in
It's not even dated correctly.
and was given to you late.
No, if you look at their quotes have in effect until 10/31/2023.
And so it's those kinds of small little things where I kind of said, if this is how you're handling just the quote, then I'm not real confident that you're gonna be able to handle the communication that I feel is gonna be necessary to make that the product going. TLC Go, and I did provide you as well as a list that TLC Go provided of some of the things that they provide. When you go to look for this on, like in an app store, it's, you'll see us, you don't see a company, the app company, you're gonna see us, and that's, so that's key, so it's that customization that I really like.
Will that be on Play Store and on, okay, thank you.
It'll be, it's your Apple, it's
Okay,
your,
great.
it's
Okay.
also Chromebook.
So it'd be something like
Okay.
White Lake Library to go, right?
Fabulous.
So, yeah, because if you look up TLC to go, you get the TV
Right.
station.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. The other thing that's interesting is the app maker, Solus is what it's called, is not only makes TLC Go, but actually makes the innovative one, which is quite interesting. But with Solus that developed the app, I just made some notes here. It works with all the major ILS vendors, including open source. So if TLN ever moves, and it's, believe me, it's not going to happen in the next few years. So to another ILS, we can take that app with us. It's an easy transition and very seamless for patrons, so they won't really even know that there's been much of a change. And so that's a plus. Currently, right now, you've got Allen Park Commerce jumping onto this, if not already have it. Royal Oak, very interestingly enough, started with My Libro. And again, that's the ones where they jumped over to TLC Go because they weren't complete.
I see the Midwest Collaborative for Library Services uses them as well.
Mhm.
So that's a good endorsement.
You want to see it. So it's really nice. It's
Okay,
happy to look forward to it. So
thank you. Okay,
it's got ease of use, fits the needs of our patrons. I love the push notifications. It's got native accessibility, which is helpful for people with disabilities. And so
Is it within our budget?
It is.
I was really shocked at how inexpensive it is.
I budgeted 10,000 out of the marketing fund, and this is. And actually, this would be, we would start the implementation process, so the whole, I'm gonna have to kind of. Put some of that money into the 2025 budget because not all of it will go right away. They're obviously being inundated, so we wouldn't be doing this, be able to get it out till January.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
all right.
So
so, you know.
I'd offer a motion to approve the PLC Go implementation at the cost presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Five yes.
The innovative implementation fee is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like that, it's almost insulting. I know what it takes to implement something like that.
So
It's not $5,000.
who would like to?
Oh, wait a minute, it's somebody's last.
Well,
Yeah.
I would I'd really like to make a motion right now that I'd like to make a motion, like to move that we adjourn this meeting at 8:36.
I'll second.
Oh, you seconded,
Carried it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned.